Thanos is the only MCU villain who did his research. Not in a mad scientist way, not in a doomsday cult way, in the way that makes you sit back during the movie and think, wait, is he actually making sense right now? That discomfort you felt? That's not a bug in his character. That's the whole point, because Thanos isn't written to be wrong in an obvious way. He's written to be wrong in the most dangerous way possible, the way that sounds completely reasonable. And today, we're going to find out exactly where the logic breaks. Before Thanos became the most feared being in the universe, he was just a man watching his world die. His home planet, Titan, was collapsing. The population had grown beyond what the planet could sustain. Resources were thinning, suffering was spreading, and Thanos had a solution: eliminate half the population. Random, impartial, immediate. They called him a madman and rejected him. Then Titan collapsed anyway. This is the detail that makes Thanos so psychologically compelling and so dangerous. He wasn't wrong about Titan. The planet did fall, and that single devastating moment of "I told you so" became the foundation of an ideology he then applied to the entire universe. This is how extremism actually works in the real world. It rarely starts with evil. It starts with someone who was right once and never recovered from it. Thanos' worldview has a name. It's called Malthusianism. In 1798, a British economist named Thomas Malthus published a theory: population grows exponentially, but resources grow only incrementally. Eventually, they diverge. Famine, disease, and collapse follow. The math, he argued, was inevitable. Thanos is Malthus, except instead of writing a paper, he built a gauntlet. The appeal of Malthusian logic is that it feels like pure reason. It removes emotion. It treats people as data points, suffering as a statistic, and death as a correction. When you operate at that level of abstraction, the uncomfortable becomes rational. And Thanos leans into this completely. His solution isn't chaos. It's symmetry, random selection. No bias, no agenda, no favorites. Half of everything, everywhere, all at once. In his mind, this is the ultimate act of mercy. Suffering optimized away. That willingness to frame mass death as mercy is what separates Thanos from a simple villain. He's not enjoying this. He genuinely believes he is the universe's most reluctant necessity. Here's where the whole thing falls apart. At the moment, Thanos holds the Infinity Gauntlet, a device with literally infinite power. He chooses to kill half of all life. But why? With infinite power, he could double the universe's resources. He could accelerate sustainable development across civilizations. He could create entirely new worlds. The Infinity Gauntlet has no asterisk. There is no limitation that forces his hand toward death. He chooses death anyway. And that tells us everything. Thanos didn't arrive at genocide through logic. He arrived at logic after deciding on genocide. The philosophy didn't lead to the conclusion. The conclusion came first, and the philosophy was constructed around it to make it feel necessary. This is the quiet devastation at the center of his character. The snap was never really about balance. It was about control, about shaping the universe in his own image, by his own judgment, on his own terms. Think about Peter Parker dissolving into dust, apologizing to Tony Stark for something he had no control over. That's not a math problem being solved. That's a person, someone's kid, being erased because one man refused to consider alternatives. But let's say we give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say the gauntlet somehow couldn't create resources. Let's take his premise at face value. His math still doesn't work. First, A sudden 50% reduction in population doesn't just free up resources, it collapses infrastructure. Hospitals lose half their staff mid-surgery. Power grids go unmaintained. Supply chains break. Governments lose the people who keep them functional. The cascading deaths from systemic collapse alone would far exceed the original 50%. Second, and this is the part Thanos never thinks about, population naturally regulates itself. Civilizations that develop economically go through what demographers call the demographic transition. Birth rates fall as living standards rise. The universe didn't need a snap. It needed time, development, and resources redirected toward the right places. Thanos' solution is a one-time fix to a self-correcting problem. In a few generations, populations would rebound. The snap buys, at best, a temporary reprieve, and at worst, accelerates the very collapse it claims to prevent. The math isn't just cruel, it's sloppy. So, if the logic is flawed and the alternatives exist, why does Thanos do it? Because Thanos cannot live with uncertainty. Real solutions to scarcity require trust, in people to change, in civilizations to develop, in cooperation across time. They're messy, slow, and non-guaranteed. Thanos rejects all of that. He wants a single moment of absolute action that removes ambiguity from the universe forever. The snap isn't a solution to suffering, it's a solution to doubt. And this is what makes him a genuinely terrifying figure. Not the power he holds, but the psychological state that drives him to use it. He has replaced empathy with efficiency, accountability with certainty, and ethics with outcomes. In philosophy, this is where utilitarianism, the idea that the greatest good for the greatest number justifies any action, slides from theory into tyranny. Most serious utilitarian thinkers reject Thanos-style logic precisely because it removes every moral safeguard. The moment you allow one person to decide that mass death is justified, you've created a world where anything can be justified. Morality stops being a question and becomes a weapon wielded by whoever holds the strongest conviction. Thanos is not wrong to notice a problem. Scarcity is real. Suffering is real. Civilizations do collapse under the weight of their own consumption. These are legitimate concerns that humanity genuinely grapples with, but he makes the oldest mistake in the book. He decides he's the only one capable of solving it, and the moment someone believes that, they stop asking whether they're right. They start asking how to make it happen. That's not philosophy. That's a messiah complex with infinite power. The scariest thing about Thanos was never the gauntlet, it was a certainty. The quiet, immovable belief that he alone saw clearly, that everyone else was too emotional, too weak, too short-sighted to do what had to be done. History is littered with people who thought exactly that. So no, Thanos isn't right. But the fact that we keep having to argue about it, that's the most unsettling part of all.